Hi, everybody. Welcome back. A lot has happened since I last recorded. I last recorded yesterday, and if you've listened to my last episode or watched the video, I think it's episode 11, if I'm not mistaken. I said that I was going to batch record and record a bunch of stuff all in one day. But as soon as I finished recording that video for you guys, my laptop, my 2017 MacBook Air, finally died. Now, that laptop has been with me since the beginning, since before I even created English with Gemma, and it's gotten me through a lot. And I'm very grateful for that laptop, but it's been dying for like over a year now. Basically, it has problems with the battery and the keyboard stopped working. So I was using an external keyboard plugged into the computer and I was just struggling for so long with that computer. And then yesterday, after I finished recording my episode, the laptop just completely died. The screen went black and it totally stopped working and shut off. Now, this is an issue for my videos because, as you can see, I have this microphone here and I record the video on my iPhone. So, as long as my iPhone is fine, I have video. However, this microphone, the audio recording, needs a computer, a laptop, because it has to be plugged in. And then I actually use the program Zoom, which is the same program I use for teaching my classes to record the audio. And then I save the audio on Zoom and then I sync. I make sure that my mouth is moving at the same time as the audio. I sync that together after I record. So there's a lot of behind the scenes and editing that goes into recording a podcast or just YouTube videos. Um, I'm not a very techie person. So, when my technology fails me, it's very frustrating. So yesterday I could only record one video and I managed to get the audio recording from iCloud because the audio was stuck on my dead computer. So anyways, since that was like less than 24 hours ago. Since then, I have a new computer, which I will show you, a new laptop. Can you see it? If you're just listening, I will describe it for you. It's the color apparently is Starlight, which is kind of like a champagne color, and it is a beautiful MacBook Air 2022, and I'm very excited about it. It's been a long time coming. It's such a nice laptop. I'm really enjoying it so far. So hopefully it will last longer than my 2017 Mac because honestly, I bought that 2017 MacBook Air, my old laptop. I bought that in 2019. So it really hasn't been that many years. But unfortunately, I think Apple products are not made to last. So it's frustrating, but it is what it is. And, I need a laptop because every single day I teach with a laptop. So it really, wasn't an option to continue without a laptop. So all that to say, hi, here I am. Um, and yes, you might notice that I'm wearing different clothes and stuff than yesterday because I was just going to batch create, record a lot of videos all in one day, but my technology had other plans. So it's a new day. I'm going to quickly record this in between my classes. It's frustrating because yesterday I had way more free time. So, that's why I was going to record all my videos in one day. But hey, it's fine. We'll make it work. So here I am today with modal verbs for you guys. I'm going to try to briefly explain modal verbs in 10 minutes. So buckle in. Let's get started. So what are modal verbs? Basically, modal verbs are auxiliary verbs, helping verbs that express things like necessity, possibility, obligation, permission, prohibition. There are so many different types of modal verbs. The most common modal verbs include things like can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, will. Oh, hello. Sorry, everybody. We have to be interrupted so that Tank, my dog, can sit on my lap. Up, up. Come on then. He really missed me because I've been away from home for a few weeks. Come on then. If you're coming up, then let's go because you're interrupting the podcast. Let's go. Up, up. Sorry, guys. One sec. I'm just bringing him up. 1, 2, 3. Lift off. There you go, buddy. Say hello to the podcast. Can you guys see him? If you're listening, maybe you can hear him. Tank, say something to the microphone. I don't know if you guys can hear him, but he was sniffing. All right. Ow, you're so heavy. Let's get back to modal verbs. So basically, unlike regular verbs, which normally express an action like run, see, do, make, modal verbs express a function. Okay. So they also don't change based on the subject, which is nice. It's more simple that way. So she should, I should, he should. We don't have to change the verb. We just keep it the same. Another thing that we have to be careful about with modal verbs is we don't use to. All right. So for example, I should to study. No, just I should study. You should to stop smoking. No, you should stop smoking. So whenever we use a modal verb with another verb, the second verb does not need to in front of it, okay? Not the infinitive, just the bare infinitive. So bare infinitive means any verb without to. All right, so our first category is permission. Now, today I'm not going to cover every single type of modal verb because that would be not 10 minutes long. So we're just going to have a look at some of them. So the first type is permission. So these modals express that someone is allowed to do something. The most common modals to express permission include can, could, and may. So for example, can I leave this party early? Asking for permission. You may leave the party early. That's giving permission to someone else. And could I borrow your pen? That's like a polite request. Could I use your phone? Could you tell me where the nearest train station is? So we're using could as a polite request, which is kind of like asking someone for permission. So notice how can is more formal, can is more informal. For example, can I leave the party? You're probably talking to your friend, so it's pretty informal. While may and could are more polite and more formal. So a quick tip is just to use can in casual situations when you're talking to your friends, or even just in casual situations, like if you're on the phone with someone and you can't hear them, you can just say, "Can you speak a little bit more slowly, please?" It's not like impolite to say that. May and could are used when you need to be more polite and formal. So our next category is obligation. This is when you must do something. You have to do something and it's mandatory. You're forced to. It's not an option. Okay, my dog is going to jump down. I'm just going to put you down so you don't hurt yourself. Oh, he still fell a little bit. You okay? You good? You okay? Go back to sleep, okay? I love you. All right, so Yes, obligation, indicating that something is necessary. The most common modals for obligation are must, have to, should, and kind of like not really that common is ought to. You ought to do something. Not as common. So the first one for my example would be you must wear a seatbelt. This is a strong obligation, and you probably will see this when you're on like an airplane or a bus. You'll see a little sign that says something like seatbelts must be worn or you must wear your seatbelt. With have to, I have to finish my homework. That's like a necessity, a personal necessity something you have to do. You should see a doctor. This is like giving advice to someone. So it's not really an obligation, but it's like strong advice. I think you should do this. And then you ought to apologize. It's like a moral obligation. Like when something is morally right or wrong, we tend to use, you really ought to apologize to her because you hurt her feelings, for example. So must implies a strong internal obligation, often from the speaker. Have to usually refers to external obligations like rules or laws. Like I have to do my homework. I have to wake up at this time. Like it's a rule that you have to follow. And should and ought to are used for advice or moral obligations, like I just said. So remembering this difference can really help you use these modals in the correct contexts. For our third category, we're going to have a quick look at prohibition, which means that you are not allowed to do something. So the most common modals for prohibition are must, not, which is contracted to mustn't, mustn't. Be careful with the pronunciation. You mustn't do that. And cannot, which we know gets contracted to can't, can't. And then finally, may not. All right. First example, you must not smoke here. You mustn't smoke here. That's a strong prohibition. You cannot enter without a ticket. That's just a neutral prohibition. Like you can't do this, you can't do that. But it's not must. Must is much stronger. And then to be formal, we use may not. You may not use your phone during the exam. Okay, that's formal prohibition. So you'll see that in formal situations like examinations. So mustn't is very strong. That's the strongest, and it indicates a strict prohibition. Cannot, can't, and may not also express prohibition, like I just said, but they're not as strong and they vary in formality. So using these correctly will help you to understand and communicate to other people rules and restrictions. We have our last section now, because I promised this was going to be a short video for you guys, or a short audio if you're listening to the podcast. So quickly, I just want to touch on some other modal verbs and their uses. So we also have modals to express possibility and ability. For possibility, we can use might, could, and may. So some examples, for example, would be it might rain tomorrow. It's a possibility. We don't know for sure. It might. She could be at the library. That's another possibility. We don't know where someone is. We're just giving suggestions where they could be. She could be at home. She could be at the library. And then our last one to express possibility, you may get a phone call soon. So may and mights can kind of be used interchangeably. For ability, we use can and could. So for example, I can speak Spanish. That's a present ability. I can, present simple. If I want to talk about something in the past, a past ability that I had but I lost, I could swim very fast when I was younger, but now I can't. All right, so that's why we change can from could when we talk about past ability. And finally, for polite requests or offers, we can use would, shall and can. Would you like some coffee? Yes, I would. No, I wouldn't. That's a polite offer. Shall we begin? That's a polite suggestion. Or shall we watch a movie tonight? Again, polite suggestion. These are both very formal. All right, let's practice. If you are just listening, you can also practice. Just listen carefully to the sentences. So I'm going to give you a few sentences and then you'll choose the correct modal verb. Ready? Let's go. You must or can wear a uniform to school. So think about this. Is this prohibition, obligation, ability? You must or can wear a uniform to school. It's going to be, you must wear a uniform to school because it's an obligation that everybody has to follow. All right, next one. May or can I have some water, please? May or can I have some water, please? What's it going to be? May or can? May I have some water? Because we're asking permission politely. Can would be for ability. A lot of native speakers say, can I have some water? But grammatically, it's incorrect. Because when you say, can I have some water? It sounds like you're asking, can you physically drink water? But you're not asking this. You're asking, may I have some water? You're asking for someone to give you water, and you're asking politely. So great job, you guys. Those are just a few little sentences to quickly practice. And now, if you want to take it one step further, make your own sentences. Have a look at some modal verbs online. There's so many exercises you can do, or you can make your own sentences and, practice that way. But modal verbs are something that takes time and patience to understand and start using confidently. So just be patient. All right, quick recap. Today we looked at modal verbs for permission, obligation, prohibition, as well as some other ones like expressing possibility, ability, and also making polite requests. So modal verbs are crucial. That's the key takeaway from this. You cannot really speak English or understand English efficiently without having a good grasp on your modal verbs. So make sure that you really take some time to properly practice these. Today's video was just, to quickly introduce the topic to you and give you a short little insight into how they're used. But now I really suggest going away and looking at modal verbs in more detail. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. That concludes today's video. Sorry about the long explanation of my audio problems. But I am always grateful for you guys returning and watching or listening to my podcast or videos on YouTube. I'm really grateful for you all. And, even though I'm not super professional, I'm getting there. I'm learning. I'm always learning more about how to improve. So thank you for being patient with me and thanks for being here. Until next time, see you later.